get used to this. I feel like a reporter. I'm used to being on the other side.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Once you
weird.
see that, like, you start locking up.
Absolutely. So what would you say, just in general, social media? I mean, in the Republican conference, it's a little different than a member office. So overall, how would you say, what type of role does social media play in the conference, as opposed to traditional media and traditional communications?
I think it's really significant. What we've been doing here in the conference, is that helpful, and kind of the approach and like how members are.
Yeah, and a lot of it is, I mean, what you bring that
Yeah.
your comms people don't bring is you bring the decision-making aspect
Yeah.
of it. They implement.
Yeah.
You strategize.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit of that, but overall, just the influence that it has, how you all use it, and what we'll eventually get into too is the input and output. Social media is used to communicate,
Yeah.
but you're also influenced by it
Yeah.
coming back.
Yeah.
So just some of that.
Yeah, I think the worst are those comments that people leave on Facebook. It's like how often the boss checks,
Yeah.
you know, the Facebook comments and the Twitter feed comments. You know, you think about how things have changed so much. Like the olden days where we get the letters in and then we would have a report and then the boss kind of looks at the letters or looks at the report, right? And now, and we still get tons of letters and emails that come in, but the boss just kind of looks at our weekly report. This was the number 1 topic, the number 2 topic, and the number 3 topic. But with, and I also think like members and staff, like your chief as well, things always come to us, it's filtered, right? Staffer brings you some type of information, or we bring some information to the boss. And on the letter counts and emails, yeah, it is, but it's unfiltered.
Yeah.
You know, when
Yeah.
she's like
Yeah.
sitting in a car or in between meetings and did you see the post and what's going on Facebook? Like, no, I haven't had a chance to take a look at it. It's in an interesting and fascinating way has connected her and to folks in a kind of unfiltered environment, which I think is healthy. But we always get, you know, I think there's like 4 or 5 people that live in, you know, Spokane, like in their parents' basement. So the second the boss like posts, it's a beautiful day in Spokane. I'm glad to be back home meeting with the VFW. It's like, yeah, too bad Republicans hate the sun.
Right.
You know, there's always like that guy, like we the trolls, which that's been interesting. So the power of digital has just been really, really amazing. We started. I don't know if this is helpful too, like the past and where we were, and
Yep.
as she was elected vice chair of the conference right after Barack Obama was elected president. And she was just really, at that time, like, oh my God, look at what is going on with emails and how the Obama campaign used emails. And like, what are we doing on social media? What are we doing on, you know, on this new platform called Facebook? And so it was an interesting match because Mike Pence was the conference chairman, the newly elected conference chairman, and he's a radio guy, a great guy, but that was the world he came from. Mm-hmm. And CMR, coming from like Washington State, the land of Microsoft, you know, we were like really moved by this kind of social media digital. And he totally, as conference chair, he was so supportive and just gave us that whole lane to play in. And our first year as conference chair was just in that first retreat. Rich Howe was part of it. We were just trying to convince members that they need to get a Facebook page. You know, I think at that time we had, in January of 2009, maybe 20% of the conference, I don't even know if it was that high, I'd have to go back and look, had Facebook accounts. So we were on this mission to go around and make sure that members had their own Facebook page. Wow. And the selling point on it was, this is your way to get your message out unfiltered so other people can see and read it. And it doesn't cost It doesn't cost a penny.
Do you think at that point you all understood or thought about how it would have a reaction coming back? How it would influence them when they heard? As opposed to, because we all use it to communicate with our constituents, but the other side of that is kind of what you said. Suddenly a member will kind of react, maybe often in a higher level at just a random comment. Do you think y'all anticipated that we would be moved as much by what came back?
I don't think so. I think in the beginning, so the biggest selling point we had is it's free and you can get your message out and you don't have to convince Katie Couric why this is good or not. Like there was no, like, oh my God, this is a way, this is powerful to highlight what you just sponsored, what you just voted on, whatever. And in the beginning, as I'm thinking about it, the biggest pushback we got that came up a few times is, Kathy, Jeremy, this is great, but we're behind on responding to regular letters and emails. I don't want to give somebody another platform where I'm the fall behind. Like it's almost like more work. It was like this more work kind of thing. And that I found pretty interesting. I'm just trying to get to your point in your question. At that time, did we think, because do you remember there was this was only a few years ago when Obama came out and Syria crossed the red line and we thought for sure he was going to go in and have military strikes. And then he has a press conference on that Saturday or Sunday and says, well, I'm going to go to Congress.
Right.
And one of the things that was very fascinating, which I don't think has ever happened before too, is the amount of comments that members received on that was, it
was like, because I remember, because my old boss, we had that letter that went to him asking him to seek approval from Congress.
Yeah.
And we had, it was during August recess, and we had like 200 signatures on that thing. Yeah. And that was all strung up by the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that. That's great.
One of the, coming back to like the power of like Facebook, right? One of the convincing things that we also did, and I remember the story of during the 2008 campaign, we were reading Bill Clinton was campaigning for his wife somewhere, and he's it's like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, it's late, and they're done like kind of campaigning, and Bill Clinton goes into the student union, and there's this kid on a computer and he's on Facebook, and Clinton's like, what is that? And he's like, hey, check this out. And the kid's like, hey, I'm with like President Clinton, come by the student union. And I forgot what the numbers were, but 15, 20 minutes later, there were 60 or 70 or 80 people there. And so this like social media, which is the social mobilization kind of connection, was really pretty powerful.
Do you find that, as far as how it influences Congress, do you find that it influences Congress at the same level than a personal meeting or a handwritten letter or a phone call might?
Yeah, I see. That's where like at the moment when the boss is looking through the Facebook or whatever, there's like these little periods of time where it could have that type of influence, but I don't think it's as big as those personal contacts or those meetings.
There's a concept floating out there now called slacktivism.
Yeah.
It's that idea where, back before social media, if you were going to help the United Way, you'd give money or you would give time. Now, people think they're helping the United Way by liking a Facebook post.
Yeah.
And so the United Way loses out on that because they're not getting as much money or time. They're getting this, people have this inaccurate feel like they've contributed. Do you find any of that up here on the Hill, whereas maybe it's some of that thinking when you just get some random email or that they've just signed on versus somebody that's came by? I mean, is that kind of thinking maybe permeating up here?
Yeah, I think so. This is like a general frustration that I have is we're not like equipped to deal with all of this digital and social media, right? So we're kind of like cutting edge 1973. You look at how our offices are set up. Instead of legislative correspondence, we should have digital correspondence, and we should have 2 or 3 digital correspondents, and we should be doing this rapid response type thing. I don't, you or I, we use Uber. We have a problem with Uber. Within right away they acknowledge that, okay, we got your issue, and within an hour it's typically resolved. Case closed, somewhat favorable, you get a credit, whatever, an hour.
Right.
You've heard me talk about ZocDoc a whole bunch, right? This is this really awesome app where you can type in your insurance and it can show you, and they book on the cancellations.
Yeah.
And they book 6 million a month now. Average wait time is 24 hours or less. It's just quite remarkable. And I toured their facilities, and there's 2 clocks, and I'm like, or digital kind of board, like on the TV, and one says, it's like, 3.6, 3.4, 3.2, 3. I'm like, what is that thing, and why does it keep on moving? It said, every single email that we receive, our goal is to respond to everybody within 4 hours. And our average right now, Jeremy, is 3.6. And then the other thing was 1.2, 1.4, and that was average, their goal to pick up phones within 2 rings, right? So somebody calls live voice within 2 rings. And so I think there's this general frustration where people are now mobilely connected to their families, right? To their friends, digitally connected. Facebook, commerce, you name it. We brought in the Run the Runway person who, she started a dress company, which has millions and millions of users now, right? And they do everything on their, like 60% of the orders are all done on the iPhone.
Yeah.
And she can, by the way, move 60,000 articles of clothing around in one day from when it comes in to going out into that person's, dry cleaning, everything. So here we're like connected, but like Congress, I think people are more and more disconnected because there's still offices where, emails come in, 10 days later you get a response.
Right.
And it's a letter, and it's like 4 or 5 paragraphs, and it's like, what's going on? In our office, we're excited about a 3-day turnaround or 4-day on average.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're not. You send somebody an email, they don't get back to you. Okay, you got that grace period, maybe a day.
Right.
But anything after that,
You wonder if they even got it. Yeah.
you're like, okay, so if we were more like equipped to, bridge those divides, I think that would do a lot to. So social media would have more of an impact, right? And people would be more connected to their members of Congress, which I think would be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
We brought in this guy. Have you heard of Countable by any chance?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we like last summer. Our interns were talking about it, and I said, okay, like bring them in. And sure enough, they got him here like 2-3 days later. And I was just like, I think what you're doing is absolutely remarkable. You